Hello, welcome back to the Messy Mat. Been away for a couple of days visiting family, so that's been nice catching up with them. And of course now the weekend is upon us, and so I'm due for another make for you. So here we go. Oh well, I suppose first of all I better say thank you. I need to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thanks for all your lovely comments. I hope I've answered them all the comments now as well. But yeah, it's fabulous to see so many people picking up the subscription to my channel. It's really nice that people are that interested, that they want to see more. So thank you. Okay, so last time you may have seen me make this little notebook which I'd made from an envelope, a straightforward envelope, which I christened the opens on the short side style of envelope, which was decorated. The signature was sewn in. There was lining on this end where we still have a pocket, but the downside for me was the fact that I kept missing the mark with this thumb notch here. I wanted people to be aware that there was something inside here, so by creating a thumb notch you kind of invite that, oh, I wonder what's in there. But of course with this flap being so very small, there was a tendency to over chomp that thumb notch, so I thought I would have a go at working out how to make my own envelope, or well, I was just seeing what was wrong with the original envelope really, so let's just pop that there for a minute. So these are the envelopes that I'd been using. They were cheap, bundle of however many, 20 from an online store. And what I noticed is the actual the way they'd constructed it. They'd given the let's turn it that way. They'd given the flap to secure the bottom as the big one, and the flap that closes the envelope, the one that normally has the licky sticky on, as the small one. And I thought, well, perhaps they got that the wrong way round. So anyway, what I decided to do was I decided to take one of the envelopes apart. Okay, so I carefully pulled that stuck bottom piece down and the middle bit, and then ended up with this. I thought, okay, fair dues, what I'll do is I'll just pop it back together like that. So gluing the short flap, the smaller flap, narrower flap down. But then of course I ended up with this messiness here where the glue was. What I decided to do was I decided to use the envelope as the master, the template, to make some of my own envelopes. And of course you can buy dies, templates, whatever, but do you know, this was, as I said in the original video when I made the little notebook, this was such a lovely size when it was folded in half that I thought it's a useful size. So what sort of papers could you use and how would you use them? I have occasionally printed out a digital on not so good paper. This was some sort of rough, probably cheap children's sketchpad paper, so the digital went on that. Didn't want to waste the ink, so to speak, the printy ink, so kept it. So that's an option, isn't it? That fits fabulously on there between the lines, so I could use that. The other thing I find sometimes from books, when I'm taking pieces out of books, there's a lovely image on one side, but the image is too big to use in a journal for me. And there's a nice image on this side, so this would work well. Again, this would work well as an envelope with the nicer sort of floral botanical element on the outside, so you could use that. Another thing that I have rather, sorry, you probably didn't see any of that. Another thing that I have rather a lot of is old book pages. Again, this fits nicely on there. You get the whole of that envelope template on there. This is Welsh language edition of Pilgrim's Progress, Bunyan. Luckily I have access to a fantastic second-hand book shop, and he keeps all of these sort of books for me, so I'm very lucky there. But anyway, that envelope template fits lovely on there. And just so that you can see the sort of thing you get when you make something out of what that I got out of the Bunyan vintage paper, was this really nice looking vintage envelope with text on it, and again, obviously you could distress the edges and things like that. So that's that. Often, as I said before, what happens when you get a book page is this is from Edith Holden Country Diary. There are pages that have these, although very beautiful images on. Again, this is too big for me in the sort of size journals that I do, but on the back it has some lovely text. So I decided, given that I'm doing a lot of things with the Edith Holden print at the moment, I would make an envelope. So I took the piece of paper, laid my template on top, and was a bit disappointed to notice that although it was almost perfectly sized that way, it wasn't quite big enough this way. And rather than give up on the whole idea, what I decided to do was I decided to be a little bit sneaky and make the envelope tiny bit smaller so that I could cut one envelope out of this whole page. Okay, so what you need to do, what I did was, if you line up this edge, so a left to right edge and a top to bottom edge, if you line that up, as I say, bearing in mind that this is so nearly the right size, it doesn't really matter. And what I did was, using a ruler as an additional guide, holding the template firmly onto the page, I marked these lines, so you can see that there, and I did actually make that mark in there on the previous, on the sort of the dry run, as it were, because I found it helped, made sure I had that corner perfect. So there we go. So I have that, and then that corner. This could be a rounded edge. This piece is obviously going to come out, as is this piece here, redundant. So what do I do with this bottom edge? All I do is I simply move the template up, keeping the up down edge equidistant, equal, and then I do the same at the bottom. I mark those lines. Oh yeah, there we go, no biggie. Mark my corner nicely, and you can, you know, if you're feeling a little bit anxious about doing it freehand almost, is to just masking tape it down, but I'm too impatient. I want to get it done now. So there we are, I've marked that, and again I'm going to mark my my corner, my dead center corner. Okay, so although it is slightly narrower than the original, it is still going to work. Let me show you. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut these longer lines to just to that point, which is why I made that mark there, is so that I can see quite clearly, especially on a piece of paper that's got lots of text on it. I can see quite clearly where I need to stop cutting. Okay, so that's that and that, and the same with this edge. You can tell when I'm concentrating because I actually go quiet. I obviously don't do a lot of concentrating, do I? Because I do a lot of yabbering. There we go. So there we are. So we're at that point there where the corner is of that piece that we need to get rid of. Now at this stage, this is a good point to do the folding. This is going to be my inside. I want to fold the creases from this side of the page. So just by pushing that gently over, the paper will naturally stop at that point where you've cut the page to. So just fold that in. Take this one, do the same, fold that in. There we are. And then what we can do is we can cut these legs off as we've marked them. We can cut them directly into the corner, and we know we're cutting off the right amount. Now because this was torn out, I just want to trim that edge down. I do use a very cheap knife for this. One of those ones where the blade, you can snap it off to reveal another nice sharp bit. I always close it up as well, because when I'm grabbing for things I don't want to be grabbing the knife blade. Now the next thing that we can do, if you want to, is these corners can be just gently rounded with your scissors. If you want, that is, you know, you don't have to do that. It's an additional thing you can do. Because they won't fit into a traditional corner chomper because you need a 90-degree angle, I just find it easier to do it like that. Right. Okay. So now you can see we've got the sort of envelope shape. Now remembering the whole point of this exercise was to end up with a larger flap as the open close flap. This is the one that you want to fold up. So again, you might find it easier to gently ease that over between those creases there. Okay. And that does then give you the short flap, which you can seal down, you can glue down, and the long flap, which means you can cut your nice thumb notch there. Okay, so let's get this one glued together. This is a little handy tip that I've got for you. Okay, and I've decided that I think I want them that way round, the November showing. If you did that, you're kind of cutting the November off a bit, but that's just me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a wee bit of glue down here on this edge, which is in effect inside the envelope, okay, because that will end up inside. And then I'm going to run a line of glue along this, which is the bit that goes over the top. The reason for that being that if you were to put glue, just get your glue and go splodge, splodge, splodge all over there, you could end up with too much. You don't need, doing it this way, you don't need to measure. If I show you what happens, you stick that down like that and you'll end up with sort of two little, like a railway line of glue. So you know that both edges are going to be sealed down nicely. Just press that down. I just pop my ruler in there so that I can give it a good press, and also make sure that it's not adhering inside. And I'll do the same with this bottom edge here as well. I'll put a thin bead of glue on the flap here, and then a thin line of glue on this edge here. I think it's important at this, for this sort of area where you've got that uneven line, is to, you know, you don't really want glue on this flap that's going to stick to that bit that's exposed there. So there we are, that's that sealed down. Right. So now at this point, this is where if you were going to use it as a, you know, you can seal it up. You could use it as a postal envelope if your post office allows that sort of thing. But what I do now is I just mark carefully and very lightly in pencil my maximum for my thumb notch, and I take my punch, and so that you go to a point where you've kind of centered it there, but push your punch until you see the mark, and then just bring it back very slightly. See, the mark is there, and now it's disappeared, and then you can make your notch, and that way your notch is not exposed when the envelope itself gets sealed. So tidy up any pencil marks, get rid of any pencil marks. There we are. I mean, if you want to, you can distress the edges. You could, at the stage where it's being cut out and it's like that, you know, you're doing this part before you glue it together, you could stitch something on there. You could emboss, put it through an embossing folder. You could cut an aperture in it. You could do quite a few things before you assemble it. But there we are. That's the neat, the better way of creating an envelope, is to use an existing one, carefully take it apart, and use it as a template. Of course, that way all your envelopes are going to be, oh, if you use the same size piece of paper, that is, they're all going to be the same size. This is a bit of a clue as to how many times I had to record this, because I do one take wonders. I did a dry run, which was one. I did one, made one, and I completely fluffed up towards the end, so I had to do another one. Then the battery ran out, so I had to make another one. Then the SD card got full because I'd forgotten to delete all the takes that I'd attempted, and then finally the one that I've actually made just now. So I now have a nice little stash of 5 Edith Holden envelopes, which I can put in my latest journals, plus the one that I decided to make out of my vintage John Bunyan. But anyway, there we are. So those are the envelopes that I've made from a mass manufactured envelope, which, if you want to, you can turn into a nice little notebook if you watch the previous video. So there we are. That's been my Friday. Trying to set this up, trying to get this right. that's got to happen now is it's got to be uploaded to YouTube. So thanks very much for being patient and staying with me. And again, I thanked you all at the beginning, but I'm going to thank you all again now for watching my videos. It's lovely to know that people are interested. Share away, like, subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to seeing you again at the messy mat at some point in the future. Thanks a lot. Bye.